Many, many moons ago, I was at the Prado, one of the world's great art museums in Spain. And I was standing in front of this gigantic Baroque painting. And there were a couple of women behind me who were not feeling it. It just wasn't their thing. They had nothing kind to say about this picture. And one of them said, "This painting stinks." And the other one turned to her and said, "Yeah, but that frame is rad." And it got me thinking, yeah, that painting was kind of lousy. The frame was kind of rad. But how do you go from raw wood to something that can upstage a Baroque masterpiece? Well, let's find out.
I'm Julian Baumgartner. As a fine art conservator over the past 2 decades working to preserve artworks, I've been fortunate enough to meet and work with some of the most talented, driven, and interesting people in the arts. And now I want to take you into their worlds, to meet them, hear their stories, and share their passions. So join me as we go behind the canvas.
Hey, April.
Hi, Julian. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Well, thank you for visiting today.
Well, I'm super excited to be here. I've been working with you for 15 or so years, but very rarely do I get to leave my studio and come to somebody else's. So this is a real big treat for me.
Oh, wonderful. And I love visitors.
So this is Armand Lee Framing.
This is Armand Lee, but this is just a small part of Armand Lee. The magic really happens elsewhere in the building. So let me take you to the heart, what we do.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Yeah, lead the way.
Wonderful.
Founded in the 1940s, Armand Lee has always been dedicated to fine art framing. And though the location, personnel, and techniques have evolved and changed, their commitment to the highest quality of craft has never wavered. Whether it's mirror silvering, hand-carved frames, or gilding, these craftspeople ply their trade with extreme dedication and care. But it's not often that visitors make it past the showroom floor.
This is our basement, and this is where everything begins. You can see our wood shop, and so you can see all the stock and the molding that we have here.
So this is kind of where it all starts?
This is where it all starts. And you know, we do pre-finished profiles, but we also do a lot of raw moldings.
What is this steamy thing over here?
The steamy thing.
Yeah.
This is really exciting. So we don't necessarily have to hand carve every single frame. We can actually use what they call compo. Eva has put a piece of compo that has been pre-formed, and she is softening the compo in this steam box.
So what is compo? What is that in here?
So compo is a combination of sawdust, rabbit skin glue, and like a calcium carbonate.
It's a little sticky. Is that the glue in this?
It's a little sticky, yes. When you want to put this on a frame, most frames are not flat. Right. So we actually have to soften this. So we soften it in this steam box to make it pliable.
So steaming it makes it soft, pliable, and then it can be contoured or kind of fit onto the curved profile of the frame.
Exactly.
Oh, I see. Can I try this?
Sure, you can.
Okay, so this goes into here.
Yes.
Do I have to, is it?
For a couple of minutes,
Okay.
seconds.
It goes in, close the lid, and then we cook it. Waiting is the hardest part, huh?
You're right.
And so right now, the steam is softening the composition.
Yeah.
The glue is getting sticky.
Yes.
And then when it's soft and sticky, we can take it and we can put it onto the frame.
Sure.
And then that's where it will live forever.
You're right.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah. See the little point?
Right?
Okay.
Am I doing it right?
You're right.
Awesome.
Perfect.
How long have you been doing this?
Okay, I started working in 1981. Okay.
Okay.
And I do, all of this. Now it's easy because it's a small one, but I used to make a big one. The sample is upstairs.
So you are the compost specialist.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where the composition goes. You put the composition in here, and then it gets dried and flattened. It goes over here, and then when it's done, we have the pieces that you can steam. Okay. And so how long does this have to wait to dry before it can be worked on next?
It's ready, dry already.
It's ready? That's it?
Yeah.
That's really quick.
Yeah.
All right, so I get why, like compared to carving, that was really easy. How long do you think they would have taken to carve this?
Oh, maybe by 1 week, all right?
Wow. Okay, I get it. So
Yeah.
compo is really important.
Yeah.
Armand Lee is filled with craftspeople like Eva, with decades of experience plying a single trade, refining it to mastery. It's no wonder why she's a critical part of the frame-making process. And while Eva focuses on composition, a relatively modern technique, some frames at Armand Lee are still made the old-fashioned way, hand carving. A technique that's existed since, well, the first frame, this work is truly impressive. And it happens just down the hall.
So this is Juan. He's one of our master carvers, and he's been carving for over 18 years.
So is Juan making this?
Yes, so this is one of our samples from our showroom. So we take this to Juan, and he is hand carving a custom profile or a custom frame for one of our clients.
So basically he's just looking at this and then translating this to this. There's no like jig or template. And this is really where the mastery comes in.
Yes, and keep in mind too that like this could go on an 18 by 24 inch frame or a 16 by 20, so like the scale may change as well.
I'm guessing this isn't like, this is not very time efficient.
It's not very time efficient, so this would, I would say, take about 8 to 9 hours to hand carve this frame.
8 to 9 hours to do just this small frame.
Correct.
And just these little corners.
And just these little corners, correct.
I mean, I'm kind of speechless because it seems like this is really simple. I mean, there's not a lot going on here, but it's going to take a full day to get this from raw wood to this finished state.
It's a testament to our craftsmanship. This you cannot recreate in composition or compo, so it needs to be carved.
Right. So hand carving is kind of like the pinnacle of frame making. This is the cream of the crop craftsman work on hand carving.
Correct.
And hand carving is basically dates back to the beginning of frame making, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
The beginning, and you know, like painters, frame makers in the time of the Renaissance were just as esteemed as painters of the day.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that Juan is a craftsman. I mean, without a doubt. Now, Juan, would it be okay if I carved some of it? Yeah? All right. Tell me what to do. So. Okay, so like that. All right.
I'm going to give you a little more space, Julian.
Sharp chisels, and everyone wants to get out of my way. Okay, so like that.
Yes.
And then here.
Yes.
Oh, this basswood is nice and soft. It carves really well. I'm guessing that having razor sharp tools also makes a big difference. It looks so easy, and Juan, you do it so fast, but I see. I got to go this way with the grain. Well, I could get into this. This is really, really relaxing. Nerve-wracking, but uh-oh. Does that smell good? Oh. I messed up here.
Yeah, a little.
Okay, so a little sandpaper and then, okay. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, thank you. You saved me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to let you get back to it. I don't want to mess up anymore.
Juan's beautifully carved frames are not only for paintings. In fact, Armand Lee is the last place in the city that silvers their own mirrors, using techniques that go back to the 15th century, and some equipment that may just be as old. It's no wonder silvering is rare. It's a difficult process that can also be dangerous, which is why I was only allowed to look and not touch. Let's be honest, it's probably for the best. Be it a mirror or painting, the surrounding frame must be finished. And at Armand Lee, they are well equipped to deliver beautiful contemporary finishes. But for some paintings, for the cream of the crop, it simply must be gold. Gilding dates back to the ancient Egyptians, and every culture since has employed this art to embellish the most important of objects. But before the gold can be laid down on the frame, it must first be beaten. the metal is flattened until it is thinner than a sheet of paper. In fact, sometimes when held up to the light, it can be transparent. And while there are now machines that do this work, the finest of gold leaf is still beaten by hand in Italy.
So what's going on here?
So this is a custom frame that we're making, and we're recreating this sample. So it's a contemporary float frame made out of 12 karat white gold leaf.
Okay, so no carving, no composition, pretty slick, pretty clean. Is this easier to make?
It's actually more difficult because when it's very minimal like this, any error that you have in the fabrication shows through.
I see, right. Minimalism looks pretty simple, but it's really, really hard to pull off well.
This is Abraham, and he's currently applying bowl to a new frame that we're making.
So bowl, that's, correct me if I'm wrong, that's clay and rabbit skin glue, right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So Abraham, why do you have to put this bowl on?
The bowl prepares the frame to receive the gold.
Is it always red? I mean, this is red.
Yeah, we do the primary colors in clay, and then in the showroom, if someone orders a color that we don't have ready-made, we can mix it together.
Wow, so everything is bespoke, from
Yeah.
the ratio to the colors. Well, I've done a little bit of gilding, mostly just to repair frames when they're in my studio, but I've never had something this big or from scratch. So I'm really curious, like, how it's actually done.
You can try if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Light, long strokes,
Yeah.
even applied.
Yeah, even thin application.
Okay. This is the bottom where if I mess up, nobody's gonna see it.
Actually, the fitters decide what's top and bottom, so they get to choose whatever they want.
I mean, I could see getting into the rhythm of this. Is it kind of like you ever get that Zen moment where it's
Yes,
like automatic
definitely.
and it just kind of feels like the brush is just kind of an extension of your hand?
Yeah.
So every frame that you work on, every frame that comes through here gets gesso and then 7 layers of bowl that have to be applied slowly, deliberately, and with care and patience.
Well, it depends on the profile. Sometimes we have to do more if there's ornamentation.
More?
Yeah, if there's carved ornamentation, we often have to do more because as the clay dries, it kind of recedes from the edges of things. So if there's a carved ornament, the edge will be more prone to breaking through to the gesso when you're sanding. So you may have to do more layers when it's a more ornate frame.
Now it makes a lot of sense for me. I can take this back to my studio, and now I have a real sense of what I need to be doing. So
Good.
The check is in the mail.
Okay.
So after all of this is done, after I've applied all of this, gilding, right?
Not quite. We still have to do sanding of the bowl and then polishing. But we've already taken it to that step
Oh, yeah?
elsewhere if you want to see.
Yeah, I definitely. Let's go. Lead the way.
Okay, so this is the gilding process. As you can see, Chelsea has cut the gold to match the frame profile.
How is she picking it up? Because that brush looks like magic.
Yes, so the gold is so thin, but you have to charge the squirrel tail brush with static electricity. Traditionally, you do it on your cheek, like from the grease on your skin. Nowadays, we use Vaseline on our forearms, and we build up a static electricity charge, and it kind of picks up the gold.
I mean, you're making it look really easy, Chelsea. Would you mind if I tried?
No, not at all.
So do I need to Vaseline up?
If you want, or if
use your forehead.
you can use the oils of your forehead.
All right, prove how greasy I am. All right, we'll go Vaseline. A lot, a little.
Just a little. You can kind of see the sheen on my arm. It's more like a satin sheen. You don't
Okay.
want it to.
So middle of winter.
Yeah.
I'm just hydrating my skin.
Right.
Gotcha. Right. Okay, and these brushes are
These tips they're gilder's tips.
gilder's tips,
I'm cutting them into smaller pieces.
right? You have a couple of different sizes. Smaller because smaller leaf.
So for more detailed molding, doing smaller pieces is a little easier to handle.
Gotcha.
Especially with these multiple tiers.
So then this is all set. I can just put it down.
So right now the sizing is kind of dry.
Okay.
If you,
Okay. So a little bit of this, and you tell me if I'm setting myself up for failure
Okay.
here.
I would just stretch it out, stretch out the petals that you have a little bit,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
you just kind of let gravity sort of take it. And the water will grab onto it.
Uh-oh, I broke it.
That's okay.
That's okay?
Yeah, it's kind of natural. It can't really be helped.
Not for you, it's not.
Well, yeah.
For me, it's natural. But
Yeah, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And after we do the first layer, we go through and do patches.
Okay. So statically charge myself up, or my brush up. Then I come over here and...
I personally like to do it towards the end.
Okay.
Some people like...
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's magic.
That way you can kind of drape it over the different...
I gotcha. How long have you been gilding, Chelsea?
So I started working in this company 2 years ago. About half a year ago, I came up here, and this is my primary job now.
Did you ever think that you'd be a professional gilder?
No, I don't think I did, but I've always liked working with my hands and, arts and crafts and everything, so.
Oh, I made a mess right here. Okay.
No, I think you're doing really well.
Oh, well, that makes me feel good, even though I know you're lying. Chelsea, you must have the patience of a saint. I can't even imagine having to work on a piece this size, let alone this one. I have to ask, how long did it take to get to this stage?
So I've been working on it for about a week now, maybe a little more.
Wow. What is this going to look like when you're done with it?
Well, actually, I think April here has a sample.
So here's the sample. So we designed this with the clients, and this is going to be the end result.
This is going to turn into this after Chelsea does a bajillion more steps. How do you decide what this is going to look like?
Everything's very personal and very custom. So we'll meet with the client, we'll look at their paintings or artwork, and we will work together to find the right style frame, the right finish, and the right toning and patina.
Right, make more work for Chelsea. I'm guessing that doesn't happen here in the gilding room, right?
It does not. It happens in the consultation room.
All right, well, let's go check out the showroom.
Wonderful.
Enter the showroom and it feels like being a kid in a candy store. With an impressive collection of over 5,000 frame samples to choose from, it's hard not to feel indecisive. From frames that perfectly match the elegance and grandeur of Baroque masterpieces to sleek and modern designs fit for contemporary works, Armand Lee has it all. Each frame is carefully selected and curated to ensure that it complements and elevates the art within, making it a true masterpiece in its own right.
You mentioned trying to understand what the client wants and meeting those wants and needs so that you can get to a sample that they're going to be happy with. But April, you have a lot of samples. Where do you even begin?
We have over 5,000 samples, and I always feel every day like a kid in the candy store, but I get to help clients in the candy store figure out what they want. And so we look at the piece and we start talking with the client, and I see this beautiful painting, and it's from the first quarter of the 20th century. So we start thinking about, okay, what width of frame would we like? What would the appropriate design for that time period
So
be?
you're using historical cues, not only from the artwork itself, but from the time period to help inform what you're going to suggest to the client?
Exactly.
After that step, I'm guessing obviously you have to look at the painting and try to understand what would look good on a painting. Is that color-based? Is it form-based? Is it different for a portrait, for a landscape?
It's color-based. It is form-based as well. It's what is the painting of? A portrait may have may need a more formal frame depending on where it's going. The subject matter. So, and it's also very intuitive as well. We will start just going through and shopping the profiles, and they'll pick out items that they like. Since everything is custom, they're like, whoa, I want a curved frame because you guys can do it. So then we'll pick a curved frame.
So the clients kind of let their inner desires loose, and maybe that kind of gives you some base reference for what they're thinking.
Exactly, yes.
And then I'm guessing you, with your expertise, will refine what they're thinking to something that maybe is going to work better for the painting or for them.
Yes, there's a lot of work and there's a lot of investment that goes into making the frame. So you want to make sure that you pick the perfect frame and you get it right the first time.
Right.
So obviously this is not going to work for this painting. Even as cool as a curved frame would be. It's just
But it is
not-
so cool. You
it's
can make
very
it.
cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So these are like different samples. Like clients usually like, oh, I want a Louis XV frame.
Yeah.
These are so cool.
Right.
This is a great painting. Let's do this. This is not the right choice, you know, for this piece.
I tell you, I see that a lot. A very modest early American painting will come in with an incredibly Baroque opulent frame, and it's just absolutely wrong. Not only does it not complement the artwork, but it makes it look silly, and it kind of turns it into kitsch. But you know, shiny things, people like shiny things.
Right, and people like, you know, like the black against the gold.
Yeah.
Now this is a Spanish profile, not really appropriate for this piece, even though it's really flashy and neat. So if we went with something like this,
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, that just visually makes more sense than something like this. I'll tell you, with 5,000 samples, managing the clients, understanding the artwork, and all of that nuance, that's really complicated. And I mean, it's clear that all of that knowledge from the showroom to the workshop is why clients come to Armand Lee for the best frames in the city. I tell you though, it is overwhelming for me to try to think of being in your shoes. I am much more comfortable in the gilding and carving. So I'm gonna leave this to you, and I'm gonna go find a mess to make. All of the historical knowledge that goes into knowing what's going to look good on a painting, to the hand carving, to the composition, and all of the weeks of preparation, sanding, and delicate touch it takes to gild a frame, not to mention all the finishing. These things are rad. But you know what? It's not the materials that make them rad. It's the artisans, the craftspeople, the artists themselves. That's what makes these frames, well, rad.